I think where it's impossible to achieve at least a degree of consensus within the party on an issue like this, I don't see that there is any other option. But let me be absolutely clear. Jeremy is a good and decent man who has very deeply held beliefs. I absolutely respect that. I respect the mandate that he has from the membership of the Labour Party. And let's not forget, he's not going to be, by any stretch of the imagination, the first leader of the Labour Party to have a situation where there is a mixture of views in the parliamentary party. I strongly opposed the Iraq War. I wasn't a public figure at the time, but I thought it was a grave mistake. And in that situation, Tony Blair had 139 Labour MPs take a different view from him. So Jeremy's certainly not the first, and he, I'm sure, won't be the last Labour leader to be faced with a range of views. But I think on this issue, where we all share the same values. Myself and Jeremy and everybody else in the parliamentary party, we all want to see a more peaceful, secure and harmonious world. We all have that, but we have a few different views as to how you bring that about. And it's an incredibly difficult job being the leader of the opposition. It really is. And I've seen it up close with, Ed Miliband. I was his parliamentary private secretary for a while. It is very, very difficult. But I do hope that we can find a way through this where we can reconcile the different views. And personally, I think there is no shame. There is no shame in there being a broad range of views on issues of war and peace in a Labour Party. I'd much rather actually have a situation like this than a parliamentary party or a whole cadre of MPs who just wave through things. And by the way, we mustn't forget, the Conservatives have their own issues on this as well. The Conservative chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, Foreign Affairs Select Committee, Crispin Blunt, and Julian Lewis, the chair of the Defence Select Committee, have quite different views on this. And part of the reason I'm absolutely sure that the Prime Minister is reluctant to move ahead with this vote on Wednesday if he can't be sure that there'll be sufficient numbers of Labour MPs to support what he wants.
This is the thinking.
He can't be sure that there will be sufficient numbers of people on his own side to support it. Let's not forget.
And this is the thinking about that calculation now. Let's just get back to...
The Prime Minister has a majority, and he's not confident... A slim one, of getting all his MPs through the division lobby. So this isn't just an issue for the Labour Party and for people to kick around the Labour Party. It's an issue for all parties.
Well, it's not hard to develop that analysis. And is that, do we think, what Mr Corbyn has been doing this morning? We thought he may announce a free vote for people like you who think the argument has been made. But if he then creates enough doubts in the Prime Minister's mind that perhaps the Labour Party might try to whip its members, and we'll talk about some of the potential consequences later, that there won't even be a vote, because the Prime Minister has always said he has to be sure he'll get it through before he'll call it.
I don't know. I don't know what decision Jeremy is going to come to on this, or what his motivation is in not declaring when the free vote, if there will be a free vote, could come. But I'm absolutely clear that this isn't about the internal politics of the Labour Party. I have personally, I've been very clear and honest about this. I have differences in view just on some issues with Jeremy of domestic policy.
Will you vote according to your conscience?
I will vote. I will vote.
Come whatever. Even if you're whipped, you will vote for action.
Yes, because I think on these issues, you have to take that view. You have to do what you believe is right for the people that you represent and our national security. This has got nothing to do with whatever differences I may or may not have with Jeremy. This is about the issue. It can't be about internal party politics. And on the issue, I'm clear. Our national security is threatened by ISIL. Of that, there's no doubt. 7 foiled plots over the last 12 months. 30 UK tourists killed, ISIL-inspired, in Syria. Operations on the UK, in the UK, being directed and orchestrated from Raqqa. ISIL luring our young people to go over and fight with them. We've had over 800 since the conflict began. Half have come back. So that's very clear.
So if Jeremy Corbyn can't see that, he's not fit to be Prime Minister, is he? He's not a credible Prime Minister.
No, he has a difference in view. And of course, of the, 63 countries in the coalition, of course, there are many leaders of countries not in that coalition who've taken a different view. So I don't think that means that he's unfit to be Prime Minister. But my own personal view is that where our national security is threatened, it would be wrong simply to leave it to others to deal with this. And of course, we can't ignore the barbarity of this death cult who throw gay people off buildings, systematically rape women, carry out mass executions. Now, do I think that military action, and by the way, I am minded to support support military intervention, but we have yet to see the wording of the motion that we're going to be asked to vote on. But do I think that that is going to resolve this conflict? Of course not. Do I think it is the only solution? Of course not. But what I do think it can do in the interim is I do believe that it will be able to degrade and start to dismantle what ISIL are doing. And why do I think that? Because if you look at what's happened in Iraq, Dermot, since we voted, and I voted in 2014 for military intervention in Iraq, 30% of the territory that initially was held by ISIL has now been retaken.
Indeed, as the Prime Minister does. What do you think will happen, though? Again, Jeremy Corbyn talked about consulting the membership, the supporters who've become members who overwhelmingly voted for him to become leader. We know that many of them, and we're hearing in your own constituency, are moving in some numbers. There's talk of deselection. If it comes to a whipped vote to oppose that you defy, do you fear for your seat?
For me, I'd be honest with you, it is not a factor that plays in my decision-making. I mean, I haven't been threatened directly with deselection. My own local party passed a motion this week, and we had a strong discussion on it. There were a number of members who spoke very strongly in favour. Some of the Muslim members of my constituency party spoke strongly in favour of action in the Middle East. Others were against. It was a very finely balanced debate. But let's not forget, I mean, this debate is being played out as if we're not already engaged with ISIL. We are in Iraq. This is just a debate as to whether we extend it into Syria. And at the moment, the border between the two countries is fairly fictional. ISIL operates in an ungoverned space across two areas. And one of the important things that I know was playing with many members of the Labour Party, not just in my own constituency, but across the Labour Party, was the legal basis for this. I think there is agreement across the board that with UN Security Council Resolution 2249, and in particular Article 51 of the UN Charter, there is a clear legal basis here for intervention and action.
Afraid we're out of time, Mr. Umunna. Thank you very much indeed. Very good to see you.